A lot of great speakers, and I'm so excited. Good morning, everyone. First of all, isn't it great that City Hall feels like this today, this morning, right now? Thank you so much for being here. I'm thrilled to be here today with so many leaders in our community, advocates, activists, fighters who've been pushing for this day for a long time coming. Today we are here to announce our new office that will be specifically focused on serving, uplifting, advancing, highlighting the LGBTQ+ community. You'll hear from many of the leaders who have been involved with this for years and years, long before I had the privilege of stepping into this role. And so I really want to emphasize how much of an effort this has been generationally for the City of Boston to get to this point. Before we dive into remarks, I want to acknowledge some of our guests. Everyone, there's so many people I'm even seeing out here that need to be acknowledged, but I'll read through a list of just some folks. First, State Senator Julian Cyr, thank you so much for joining us and for your advocacy at the State House every day. City Councilor Liz Braden, City Councilor Ruthie Louis-Jean, City Councilor Michael Flaherty, City Councilor Aaron Murphy, City Councilor Kenzie Bach, City Council President Ed Flynn, City Councilor Tanya Fernandes Anderson. We're matching this morning. Did I miss any councilors or elected officials? I think I got it right. Okay. And many members of our leadership team here at City Hall as well, including Chief of Equity and Inclusion, Mariangely Solis Cervera. Lots and lots of city folks sprinkled all throughout our audience here. I also want to shout out the leadership of our Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, Rob Santiago. Deputy Brian Bishop, congratulations to both for leading an incredible, safe, welcoming, inclusive parade this last weekend. Thanks for all of your work. We are also going to, let me see if we're hearing from everyone. We will also hear from later, but the current, and as he says, the last, LGBTQ+ liaison in that limited role from the Office of Neighborhood Services, Quincy Roberts Sr. Today we also have actually the first ever LGBTQ liaison for the City of Boston, who's now serving in the Age Strong Commission, Julianne Lee. We're joined by Adriana Boulin, Director of Community Impact and Engagement from Fenway Health. Chastity Bowick, Executive Director of the Trans Emergency Fund. Deputy Superintendent Richard Dayhill of the Boston Police Department, LGBTQ+ liaison for the department. Kara Hayes, LGBTQ+ liaison for the District Attorney's Office. Dee Murray, LGBTQ+ liaison for the Boston Public Schools. A hero of mine, the director of the Boston Alliance of Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Youth, Bagley, Grace Sterling Stowell. We're also joined by Men of Melanin Magic, Mass Trans Resistance, House of Threes, lots of organizations who are here in support as well. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Right before today's event, I had the honor and deeply moving privilege of meeting with the Trans Emergency Fund and members and staff and community about the work that they do every day. The Trans Emergency Fund maintains a support network that trans folks across Massachusetts can tap into, whether they're facing discrimination, eviction, in need of medical services or mental health support, of community. TEF connects them with the resources they need. This essential work is often underfunded. I'll just say that. Always underfunded and overlooked. And I'm so grateful to TEF and the organizations across our city that recognize the urgency of providing support and services to the queer community here in Boston. Leaders like Chastity and organizations like TEF have fought for decades to secure and protect rights and freedoms that many of us take for granted. I'd like to start by grounding us in a bit of history. In the early 1970s, the Massachusetts Gay and Lesbian Political Caucus filed legislation to extend civil rights protections to the gay and lesbian communities. But it wasn't until the late 80s, more than 15 years later, that community advocates succeeded in getting the State House and then Governor Michael Dukakis to ban discrimination based on sexual orientation. It was a momentous victory, but one that took too long and didn't go far enough. It didn't go far enough for the elders who had to live through yet another decade without equal protection under the law. For the young people who grew up wondering when, if ever, our leaders would decide that the discrimination they face matters enough to do something about it. It didn't go far enough for the members of the community who are bi and trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and even after the law passed, it was met with hate and ignorance and constant threats of repeal. Progress is often a fight, but it's also a dance. It requires leadership, partnership, and the path is rarely a straight line. Today, even as we've made great strides in the last 50 years, there's a growing movement to strip away rights that the queer community has fought and waited so long for. In the first few months of this year alone, more than 20 states have introduced anti-LGBTQ+ legislation, much of which specifically targets the trans community. These laws are based in fear and misinformation and have serious consequences for the mental health and physical safety of trans people, especially young trans people and young trans people of color. For too long, members of our LGBTQ+ community have had to invent systems of safety and support for themselves while those in power have looked on or away. For too long, they've needed to find resilience in the absence of protection. And for too long, too many of us outside the community failed to act. But the pursuit of justice cannot fall only to those impacted most directly by injustice, because the strength and safety of all of our communities is our collective responsibility. Boston's LGBTQ+ community deserves an office that affirms and uplifts and defends the safety of all, the opportunities and the dreams of all. This office should connect them to services and resources, advocate, and evolve alongside our community. Boston's queer community deserves leadership and representation that reflects the diversity of identity and lived experiences. That's why today, I'm excited to announce Boston's first ever Office of LGBTQ+ Advancement. This is the next step in our journey toward creating a city that is just, inclusive, and safe for everyone in our community. The office will develop policy, organize programs, and provide resources to protect and expand the rights of our LGBTQ+ residents. And it will prioritize addressing the disproportionate discrimination and violence directed at Black and brown members of the trans community. There's a lot of important work to be done, and we need dedicated, thoughtful leaders partnering all across every sector of our city to do it. At this moment, we are looking to hire our first ever executive director for this office to lead the charge in helping us create a more affirming and welcoming city. The executive director will serve as part of the Equity and Inclusion Cabinet, led by Chief Mariangely Solis Cervera. And the online application, or one way that you can apply, is to go to boston.gov/LGBTQ. It's incredibly, I'm just feeling so many emotions right now standing here, because I am remembering the depth and intensity of emotion when the city of Boston has had to step up with our community members in times of great stress and danger. when we were gathered outside on the steps not too many years ago to raise the trans equality flag for the first time ever in Massachusetts, vowing that we would not take it down until the state legislature acted and passed public accommodations protections. Or when we've rallied time and again, or when we've been together at marches, demonstrations, fighting for basic dignity. Today, I'm excited that we are all gathered to not only remember and hold space for all that we still need to fight, but to celebrate, uplift, and look forward with excitement to what's to come. This is a city for everyone. This is a city This is a city where we have the leadership in place across the administration, across the city council, across our legislature, and all throughout our community to ensure that we see each other with love, with respect, with trust, and with possibility. And so I am so excited and looking forward to working with Chief Solis Cervera and the inaugural executive director to deliver on Boston's commitment and promise to uplift, support, and serve our LGBTQ+ residents. I'm glad to be here today to affirm this commitment in solidarity with and in celebration of and alongside our community members, neighbors, families, friends, students, teachers, city workers, business owners, activists, and athletes. And I look forward to celebrating with you next week during Trans Day of Visibility. Entonces, un poco en español. Hoy estoy anunciando la primera oficina del avance de la comunidad LGBTQ+. Esta oficina desarrollará programas, destacará el liderazgo de la comunidad y dará recursos necesarios para proteger los derechos de nuestros residentes LGBTQ+. Entonces es un honor estar con ustedes aquí y next, I will pass it on to Chastity Bowick, Executive Director of the Trans Emergency Fund.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wu, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. As Mayor Wu said, my name is Chastity Bowick. I use she, her, and her pronouns, and I am the Executive Director of the Transgender Emergency Fund of Massachusetts, which is dedicated in supporting low-income and homeless transgender folks across the state of Massachusetts. So not only do we provide homelessness prevention, utility assistance, personal supplies, but also that connection to community, that connection to safety, that connection to knowing that there are organizations like Trans Emergency Fund and Bagley and MTPC that are going to have their back no matter what. And so I'm happy to be here today in this announcement of the new LGBTQ+ Advancement Office. I would like to say a special thank you to Quincy Roberts Senior, for all of the work that he has done over the years to get us to this place, and all the work that I know he will continue to do to make sure that this office is not just an office. And by having us here today, this administration is showing us accountability. By Mayor Wu taking the time out of her busy schedule to meet with me and my staff shows action steps, and that this is not just going to be a lip service office, but it's actually going to get work done that the community needs. We have transgender individuals who are being beaten, gang raped, and attacked in the city of Boston, but we're not important enough to make the news. But with this new office, I'm hoping that they will be backing the Trans Emergency Fund, backing Bagley, backing Mass Trans Political Coalition, while we serve these members who are only asking for basic survival needs. And instead of getting that, they're being discriminated against in this great city of Boston. So I know moving forward, this is the right step in the right direction, and I'm so grateful for this administration for making this happen. And it's this public knowledge, since we're all here together, that, you know, TEF will be one of the organizations that will hold this office accountable in making sure that things are getting done for this community. And again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you again, Mayor Wu. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Next up, Grace Sterling Sowell of Bagley.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Sterling Stowell, and I'm the Executive Director of Bagley, the Boston Alliance of LGBTQ Youth. Bagley is a youth-led organization based in Boston that does statewide work led by and for the young people of our communities. I am thrilled to be here today, and thanks so much for thank Mayor Wu and her team for her leadership in creating this new Office of LGBTQ Advancement. Michelle Wu is not new to supporting the needs of our community, but I'm so excited to see this next step forward. We know that not only locally but nationally, our community is under attack, and especially young people, especially trans people, especially people of color, and especially those who sit at the intersection of all of those identities. It is so important that we have leadership from the highest ranking in the city, and Mayor Wu is providing that so that we can support the LGBT youth of all of our communities. I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited to work with the mayor and her team to move this forward, and as Chastity and others have said, to make sure that this is not just an office, but a group effort to make sure that we make Boston safe for the LGBT young people and adults of all communities. Thank you.
Next up, State Senator Julian Cyr.
Good morning. My name is Julian Cyr. I use he, him pronouns, and I have the honor of representing Cape Cod and the islands in the Massachusetts Senate. I used to be the youngest senator, and I'm the second youngest senator, one of a fierce crew of young elected officials in this Commonwealth, in this country. And I just want to say, in starting off today, Mayor, I was last here at City Hall for your inauguration in November, where things unfortunately had to be quite different. Not only the energy in this room, the number of young people who are here. I didn't spend a lot of time in City Hall sort of before this, maybe a little bit. You'd come here. It didn't used to look like this, and it sure as hell does not look like this on Beacon Hill yet. But I think that's a tribute not only to you, Mayor, but to this administration in welcoming, in opening the doors of City Hall and really making sure that we have a city government, a state government that is actually reflective of the people who live here. And this is just giving me so much hope and joy. And I just wanted to remark on that. It is such an honor to be here with so many people, with true giants in our community. And if I start naming names, I'll get in trouble. But I think that we really have work to do and to build upon. And yes, the city of Boston's been pretty darn good on these issues. And I actually found this fabulous little pin that city workers who've been involved in LGBTQ work have had from some time. But there's a lot more that we can do. And I think the real wisdom in convening this office and having someone who's laser focused on the needs of LGBTQ plus people, particularly trans and non-binary folk, people who Chastity and Grace and others work to support day in and day out, that's going to make a world of difference. And too often, government has really overlooked the needs of the most vulnerable people in our community. And yes, this is Boston, and yes, this is Massachusetts. We're proud, I think, of what we've done, but I really worry that we've been resting on our laurels when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. So I want to see this sort of action and activity at the state level. I have a hunch come January next year, we might have some really good partners there. And in the interim, and here seeing this work in Boston is just so wonderful. So I'm just so deeply honored to be here. And thank you for just buoying me up for what government can look like and what's possible here. Thank you so much.
Now I'll turn it over to Quincy Roberts.
Good morning, Boston. Thank you, Mayor Wu. Thank you, Chief. Thank you to all of my colleagues that are here. It's been a long journey. I am Quincy J. Roberts, Sr., a proud black gay man. I use he and him pronouns, but today is something that I've dreamed about for over a decade now. As the final LGBTQ plus liaison for the city of Boston, it has been an honor to take this role to new heights. I stand on the shoulders of Grace, Gary, Julian, Paul Glass, and so many others. I also get to coalition build with some of the amazing grassroots organizations like Chastity, Kamar, and so many others. I want everyone to know that's doing the work, the real work, that this is not in vain. We see you, I see you, and we celebrate you. Through the Beyond Pride initiative, we have rallied and we have provided a wealth of feedback to the Wu administration. I am very proud that the city's work on behalf of this community will expand beyond the liaison role to a full department that is more representative of the entire LGBTQ community. There is an African proverb that says, "Many hands make light work." What you see today in this room, look around, is the many hands that helped get us to this historic moment. Boston, let's continue to be bold and let's continue the work. Thank you.
Next up, Councillor Liz Braden.
Good morning, everyone. It is so exciting to be here with you all this morning. There's been a lot said. I think we've come a long way. There's a lot more work to do. I want to make a special thank you to our mayor for her leadership. I also want to thank all the activists and all the folks who have been pushing and advocating and protesting that have got us to this day. This is a new day in Boston, and I really look forward to working with you all going forward. Thank you so much.
Now, Adriana Boulin, Director of Community Impact Engagement at Fenway Health. Adriana Boulin.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adriana. I use the pronoun she and her, and I'm the Director of Community Impact and Engagement at Fenway Health. I'm so excited to be here around people, so if I seem excited, I'm excited. I'm excited about this office. There is so much work that still needs to be done in the LGBTQ plus community. Health inequities, disproportionate impacts on BIPOC LGBTQ people, persistent challenges faced by our youth and our elders, and systemic barriers that require focus and attention at the city level. Fenway Health, we are so excited and applaud Mayor Wu for recognizing this and for developing the Office of LGBTQ Advancement. I got it. We're going to keep saying it. The Office of LGBTQ Advancement to elevate the concerns of our community, and we're looking forward to working with the office and the Wu administration. Thank you all.
And now the person who has been so skilled at holding the bags, Dr. Gary Bailey of the Aging Project.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, and thank you, Madam Mayor, and I can't tell you how long I've waited to say that to someone, and particularly to say that to you. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be able to hold the bags of Adriana Boulin and of Grace Sterling Stoll, and it is a new day, and we should do more of being able to carry the weight for each other in times such as these. My remarks are to talk about LGBT aging, and to really represent my friend and colleague Paul Glass, who is the founder of the LGBT Elders of Color, who's not with us. And if Paul were here, Paul, and I can't talk about Paul without talking about his husband, Charles Evans, they would tell you the story of how they were, Stonewall is not a memory for them, they were there. And that they were part of those black queer people who were part of a Stonewall that history would like to whitewash and say that we weren't there. They were part of a Stonewall that was led by trans women of color who, in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, got sick and tired of being sick and tired and fought back. They were part of a seismic revolution that destroyed property for 3 days. It was a riot. It was not a marketing parade. Yet we, 50 years later, have revised that history to not understand that these struggles are real. Power never concedes anything without a fight. It never has, and it never did, to quote the words of Frederick Douglass. And that standing here now, we have an opportunity both in the moment of Sankofa to be in the present, to understand our past, but look towards the future. We stand here because of people like Bayard Rustin. We stand here because of people like Audre Lorde. We stand here because of people like Pauli Murray. And we stand here today because of nameless, faceless, older, queer, black and brown people who never got the recognition or the ability to do what I'm doing, which is to stand here in City Hall and be introduced by my mayor, but who are part of the foundation for where we are now. So my words to all of you, Bell Hooks says that oppression is the absence of choices. Bell Hooks said that oppression is the absence of choices. And we have choices. We can be new and different from the way in which Boston tends to default, which is to continue to create silos where we say that we're part of a community, yet we go off and do the same things. And I will say to you, as having been a member of the queer community for over 50 years, that sometimes we are still a work in progress, and we are as biased and racist as any other parts and segments of the population, and we have our work to do. We have a lot of work to do, but I know that we can do it, but we have to be intentional about doing that work. And we have to understand that it's not going to be immediate. This has been a long time coming. And in the words of psychoanalyst Frantz Fanon, none of us eat the fruit of the trees which we've planted. So we are planting trees that will bear fruit for others, but we need to plant them anyway. And we're eating the fruit that others have planted for us. So let's get busy, everybody, and let's plant more trees, because we got a lot of fruit that we need to eat.
Okay, before I hand it over to our chief to wrap up with some of the details of the office, and just so grateful for her incredible leadership. This is a collaborative partnership. We are putting forward this proposal in the upcoming city budget, and this is also an initiative and source of funds that city councilors have been pushing for to be included in the very first version of the budget. So I do want to invite up any of our councilors who want to say a brief word also, just to take the podium. I'll read through my list in the order that I had people written down. Councilor Braden spoke. Councilor Louis-Jean.
Thank you very much, Mayor Wu, for your leadership. My name is Ruth C. Louis-Jean, and I'm an at-large city councilor here. This is an amazing time to recognize that we're having this office. I remember being at a restaurant with Quincy talking about this office just months ago, and to see it realized is a beautiful thing. 10 years ago, I was here at City Hall testifying about my own experience of discrimination here in the city, and next to me was a trans activist who was talking about his own experiences of discrimination. And I realized that our issues are intersectional. We have to show up for each other. We have to be with each other in solidarity. And we will lead with you all showing us the way. So I'm very grateful for this office. I chair the Civil Rights and Immigrant Advancement Committee. Come to me if you ever need anything to uplift the work that you're doing. I stand in solidarity with all of you. And today is just such a beautiful moment. Thank you.
Councilor Flaherty.
Thank you, Mayor Wu. It's great to be here as the first Boston City Councilor and citywide official to support marriage equality, and also work very closely with Grace to create the first transgender ordinance here in the city of Boston. I'm proud to be here. Look forward to working with Mayor Wu and this new department to make sure that we're making real progress and continue to move forward together. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Councilor Erin Murphy.
Good morning, everyone. It's very exciting to be here with Quincy Roberts, Julianne, so many amazing people. And when I saw all the different departments coming down, I've never seen this many people in this space for a press conference, so this is wonderful. It says a lot about why we're here. We're here for all the right reasons. Having this office and dedicating the needs of our LGBTQ plus Bostonians gives me hope that we will have more advocacy and support for all of our residents, and this fills the promise and commitment that all of our Bostonians are represented and supported in an equitable and accessible way. Thank you, Mayor Wu, for your leadership in this space, and count me in as a strong advocate and counselor you can call on at any time to help lift up all the work you have been doing and will continue to do. It's just so great to be here with so many of you, and I love that you're showing up every day as your beautiful selves, so keep doing that. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kenzie Bach.
Hi, everyone. First, I just want to say on behalf of Council President Flynn, who was here but had to go, that he wanted to express his strong affirmation and support of this. And for myself, I just want to say I owe a tremendous amount to this community. I grew up in what was really a majority LGBTQ community in Bay Village as a child, and grew up in a church, the Episcopal Church, where a large number of LGBTQ community members had found a home and made a home. And I did not realize when I was growing up, as a recipient of so much love from that community, how much the community that formed me with that love had gone through and how much hostility they had found in their communities in their city. And as I grew older, I was just sort of bowled over by the fact that that hostility was met by love with this community, and that it has made homes for itself and then spread outward and then claimed the whole city as its home. And I just think it's so powerful for the city of Boston to say today with this office, yes, we are a home for LGBTQ plus folks, and we are going to stand here and from this office do work that impacts the whole community, not just in Boston's borders, but as the senator said, in the state and in this country, in what is a very dark and difficult time on many fronts. So I just want to say how moved I am today by all of the advocates and the mayor for getting this done, recognizing that it is a promise of work to come, not work accomplished. And I also want to just lift up the work of the Employee Resource Group, the LGBTQ plus folks. Many folks know my Chief of Staff, Emily Brown, is very involved there, and so I get a ringside seat to just how much work they do in lifting up this community here in City Hall, and we can't do that work outside of this building if we're not doing that work here inside this building. So really want to shout out to Andrew and Liz and Alicia and everybody else in the group. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, is Ed still here? I didn't see Ed. He's still here? I didn't. Is Councillor Flynn still here, though? No, he's okay. All right. I know Council President was here earlier, and our chairwoman of the Ways and Means Committee, City Councillor Tanya Fernandes Anderson.
Thank you. Good morning. I take a different personality when I'm amongst my people. Chastity, have we told them about what you look like on the runway? Haris, I love you. This is for all the boys and girls in dresses. This is for the ballroom. This is for the queens. This is for the underground. This is for the tears.
It's okay. You got it. You got it. You got it.
This is for my Uncle Luis. For all the girls, for all my friends that's lost their lives. Inclusivity is super important. And I thank you, Mayor Wu, for your open mind and heart. And I thank everyone before me who's done the work, who's been here, who's been fighting for this cause. Mariangely, thank you so much for the personal invitation to be here. I appreciate you. And Quincy, you are so lovely. I look forward to working with you. I have nothing else to say, y'all. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Is Club Cafe in the house? I think we weren't quite sure if they... Okay. And then I'm going to pass it over to our Chief of Equity and Inclusion, Mariangely Solis Cervera.
Ooh. Okay. I'm a little nervous. Before I even go into my speech, I just want everyone to sort of just take a second to look around you and look how beautiful we are. Look how powerful we are. And look how much opportunity there is in this space that the people that have been planting the seeds have created, that the women that have led the way for us. Okay. I'm gonna need those hoops, by the way. I don't know, there's just something about those earrings. Okay. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Mariangely Solis Cervera. I'm gonna honor both families here. And I'm the Chief of Equity and Inclusion. I want to thank everyone who took time today out of their busy schedules to be here in community, because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. And that's what the Wu administration is striving to build, a city for everyone, so that every single one of us can go to work, can go to school, can go to doctor's appointments, can go to grocery stores in whatever ways and outfits and hairs and whatever it is that we want to show up in. And this is what I hope this office can do, fight against the status quo. And this is what this cabinet is about. We have the Office of Black Male Advancement. We have the Office of Immigrant Advancement. We have the Office of Women's Advancement. I can keep going. Human Rights Commission. We have the Fair Housing Commission Home. We also have the Language and Communications Access. And then we also have the Resilience and Racial Equity Office. And I say this because this is about the intersections of our identities as well. And if you meet any person of the LGBTQ community, that's when you meet race, gender, socioeconomic status, all in one person. And this is why I'm so proud to say that as a queer woman myself, with parents with mixed feelings about who I am, Papi has a long way to go, and Mommy will fight you if you say anything homophobic or transphobic. Love it. I'm just really honored to be with so many of my siblings, cousins, grandparents in this space. As a former teacher, I will say, and I'm so happy that somebody brought the youth voice in here earlier, I still get calls from my students who I no longer see on a day-to-day basis, who got kicked out of a home, are not being respected, are being bullied, you name it. So I want us to remember that while we have come a long way, our youth are still seeing us, our youth are still expecting us to continue to build safe and inclusive environments for them. And so my commitment as the Chief of Equity of this cabinet, as we build out this office, is that we are going to be driven by you and with you. And I hope that you hear that and that you hold us accountable like a lot of you said earlier. Okay, let me actually stick to the script so that we don't get too many questions after. Okay, some of the things that we will be focusing on is just simply coordinating resources. There are a lot of resources that are there, and they're not making it to the hands that we need them to go into. So we'll be doing a lot of the coordination of resources, amplifying a lot of the work that's already happening in this community. We are not here to save anyone or to reinvent the wheel. We are here to uplift the communities that have been holding it down for us for a very long time. We're here to build trust. If you're in this community, you know that there are certain groups that you do not trust. That could be government, that could be police, etc. We are here to build that trust with this community because we believe that we can change the trajectory of this city. And last but not least, we are here to also change policy because it's about policy as well. And with that, if you are interested in joining this team, we are going to go to we have a hiring committee. We're going through a process to find our next executive director, who I hope is in this room. Please go to boston.gov/LGBTQ where you can find the link to apply. And with that, how do we just close it now? Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So let's do on-topic questions from media. I'll do anything that's not related to this in a scrum afterwards. And most of all, feel free to ask questions of the expertise that is here. So I will probably most likely be passing it off to folks who know much better than me. But questions?
With the creation of this office, that means that we created these, or will be creating regardless. The same equal.
Hi, Chastity with the Trans Emergency Fund. What that means is an advancement for our community. So before this office, we have nowhere to go in City Hall besides the liaison, which has only limited capacity for issues that are facing our community. So for us, this means that now when something is going on with one of our members or are being discriminated against or whatever the case may be, we have a direct office to go to and to be able to assist us with these matters. But furthermore, this office will be able to assist in so many other different matters as well, not just discrimination. It could be a housing issue, a health issue, it could be a policy issue in that the community will now have somewhere to say we have a space at City Hall that is actually going to listen to our concerns, but not just listen, but help us address those as well.
I would say quickly that the way in which an office like this is so important, as someone who has lived my life in the context of always being the and, an academic and someone who's black, a gay person and someone who's of color, that this office is an opportunity to make me a part of the whole and get me out of the world of the ands. That's what it means.
And I would add, as important as it is to have an office that focuses specifically on LGBTQ communities, it is also important in that what it represents, that from the top of the leadership, Mayor Wu, in City Hall, that our community matters. Our communities are valued, and that, as I said earlier, LGBTQ folks are part of every community, every neighborhood, every part of this city. And so to have a formal office where not only you can get direct support and have your needs addressed or resources, referrals, whatever's needed, it's important in terms of what it represents for this administration and the work of the city. Thank you.
The office in terms of staffing and budget.
I can say what we are hoping to get by FY23, 2 full-time staff, an executive director, and a second person that handles programming, coordination, etc. As for budget, we are still in the process, but we know we have the council support, and so we will be looking for an operational budget to ensure that we are doing appropriate programming. And one thing that I want to name, we have Pride coming up really soon, and I know that things have changed in the last couple of years, but we are, thanks to the help of the Employee Resource Group, as well as both former and current LGBTQ liaison, we are going to be coordinating some resources as well to support Pride this year before the actual kickoff of the office. So, I want more.
Okay, I thought it was 3, but I guess we'll keep going through that. We'll figure it out in the budget process. And other questions? Good. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Can you please? Ooh. Hello, hello. Oh.